was just shadows. None of it real. You've always suspected it, felt it, deep down. There should be more. There must be. You know there are secrets beyond the world you see every day. A place where everything is just so much more. And there must be a way to escape. Remember. You know a place where dreams are truth and magic shapes the world. A world of darkness, to be sure, but also of light. More importantly, a world of wonder and imagination, where all the things you thought to be impossible were real and true, vibrantly so. However, you're no fool. You've learned to question what you perceive. The truth is so often hidden. You know that what you can't see is as important as what you can. If you discover the right secrets and learn the proper truths, you can discover the very nature of reality. You know that even the light above should be questioned, because to truly see, you need the light of the hidden, secret, Invisible Sun. Invisible Sun is a brand new role-playing game from the mind of Monty Cook, creator of Numenera and a force behind such varied products as D&D 3rd Edition, Planescape, and Ptolus. Invisible Sun player characters dwell in a world of surrealistic fantasy. Use of the right spells and secrets can shape their lives and even their destinies. But with each new truth learned comes greater danger. Invisible Sun isn't just another game. It's a revolution in the very way we play RPGs. Through innovative mechanics and modes of play, Invisible Sun overcomes the barriers our modern world puts up to keep us from playing. We all know them too well. Busy schedules, absent players, and differing playstyles. Invisible Sun carefully balances the needs of the group versus the needs of each single player, and enables and redefines play to accommodate almost any group's ever-changing situation. As an RPG, Invisible Sun is about characters. Character creation in a world of surrealistic fantasy is one without limits. The fascinating choices are many, detailed with amazing wonders. If you love characters, you will love Invisible Sun. Moreover, the game focuses not only on character creation, but character development and depth. Monty himself says, with Invisible Sun, you end up playing characters with true story arcs, both individually and as a group. These arcs are as complex and vibrant as a character from your favorite novel or television show. The world of Invisible Sun is deeper, more intricate, and more interesting than any setting I've ever worked on. It's also a game about stories. Using the narrative tools employed by fiction writers, such as foreshadowing and flashbacks, it facilitates the creation of amazing tales, but always in ways that make the game master's life easier, not harder. For example, the cards from the divinatory Sooth deck help guide the game when desired, offering possibilities and offer ever-changing opportunities and challenges for players layered on top of the action of the game. Mechanics grant players agency over their own role in the story, while keeping the wondrous world of Invisible Sun in the hands of the GM. And of course, Invisible Sun is a game of secrets, occult mysteries, hidden truths. The game changes and grows even as you play, if you let it. Whether player or GM, your interaction with the game itself can change everything. What will you discover? Redefine the world? Redefine the game? See them both in the light of a new sun.
Being a good GM requires consistency, endless preparation, and player appreciation. This is Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I am Robert, the narrator, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Confessions. This episode should be fairly brief because what I wanted to do was just again share my love of core RPG sets that come in boxes, boxed sets for the core rules of RPGs. If you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. There are two things that I really love when it comes to role-playing games. I love role-playing games that use other methods to randomize the task resolution process, i.e. cards, and I love core rule sets that come in boxed sets. I always have, I still do, and I really, really love those two things. And I really wanted to talk about core box sets. And what really brought this episode about was a core rule set that's being released by Monte Cook Games, their new game that they kickstarted called Invisible Sun. It is a core rule set. They call it a premium role-playing game that comes in a 30-pound black cube with hundreds of cards, hundreds of counters, boards, a statuette they call the Testament of Suns. The premium role-playing game box core set Invisible Sun is $250 to $300, somewhere in that price range. And I'll explain the system to you briefly, but the crazy thing about boxed RPG core sets is I am so addicted to them that the Invisible Sun by Monte Cook Games is a game that doesn't appeal to me with the setting, and the mechanics don't particularly appeal to me, but I legitimately was considering purchasing the game just because of my love of core rules box sets. And I know that sounds crazy, but I really do love these things. And the other thing that I guess I'll mention related to this is that when it comes to role-playing games, I love new experiences. I have run into a lot of tabletop role-playing game players who are very traditionalist, who really have the attitude, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That extends to the different types of task resolution mechanics or the tools that some games like these two games in front of me use for task resolution. And they really, I've come to some gamers who really don't role play to get a new experience. That they're very traditional. They want to stick with the experience that they have known that works for them, and they could care less about innovation and new experiences. But me, I really love new experiences in the hobby. I like seeing games presented in ways that I have never seen them presented before. And when I was much younger, that really took the form of me wanting to play different games and switch games all the time. Every 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, I would want to play another game. But now, in my advanced age in the hobby, I don't want to go through systems as quickly. But I do, whenever I do see a system that is coming to the table, so to speak, with innovative rules, innovative presentation, I really have to check them out. And I really love, I guess, milestones in the hobby. So when a company like Monte Cook Games, a very reputable company that has already released products that I love, releasing a new game with new mechanics and new ways to play role-playing games in a 30-pound black cube filled to the brim with rule books and tokens and cards. I just want to be kind of a part of that history, if you will, even though the setting doesn't necessarily appeal to me, and I know that at least my old group, that setting wouldn't appeal to them whatsoever. As a matter of fact, they would look at this, I'm pretty sure that they would look at this game being presented in this new way, this 30-pound black cube with all the materials in it, that would actually be something that they would turn them off, actually. So even with all of that said, with the fact that I think the setting is not in my wheelhouse, and I probably would have to search far and wide to find anyone who would be interested in playing it, I still considered buying The Invisible Sun. So what is The Invisible Sun, the game that made me talk about core rule sets and in boxes and so forth? Well, it's Monte Cook, I think, describes The Invisible Sun as a surrealist fantasy role-playing game. Essentially, it's kind of the you don't know the truth about the real world kind of setting. It's a modern, urban fantasy setting. All of the player characters play what are called Vizsla. They all are magic users of particular stripes. I think one order of magicians that a player character can play are called Vancian, the Vance order. And as you can imagine, their spell magic has to do with Vancian magic, where you kind of cast and forget, I guess. And essentially, these Vizsla consider the world that we live in to be what they call shadow. And they are, I believe, hiding in the real world, which they call shadow, after a war, a very dangerous war. But now that the war is over, they are being pulled back into the actuality, which is this very surreal world filled with magic that they come from. And the real world, or shadow, is part of the actuality, but it's a part of the actuality that is kind of hidden away, where they could hide away from this war until it was over. And you play the game using D10 dice. You have a board, and they have something that's called the Path of Suns. They have, I'll show you what it looks like. And these are basically different realms or dimensions, these different suns. You have the red sun and the pale sun, and they represent different concepts. Like the red sun represents chaos and destruction, and you can move into these different realms represented by these suns, and it's kind of like different planes, I guess, of existence that you can travel through. And I will have a link to an unboxing of the Invisible Sun, so you can see this monstrosity. And I just can't believe that I am considering purchasing a $250 or $300 role-playing game that I will never play. That's how much I respect Monte Cook Games. That's how much I love boxed rule sets, and that's how much I love new experiences in the hobby. I think this game is a milestone. There have been several games, of course, in the hobby that came in box sets and used cards and so forth. I think Torg, a fairly old game that they actually have just re-released, was released in a box set with cards and so forth. There was a game that I also played, an older game that was called maybe Shatterstar, a game I played many years ago that came with a box set and used cards as part of task resolution. So it's not something that's unheard of. One of my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time, the Marvel Saga Marvel Adventure game, came in a box set with cards. So it's not something that's unheard of. But for instance, something like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd Edition, I think, was the first non-collector edition rule set that came in a box with tons of cards and tokens, and used specialty dice for task resolution that I had seen in a long time. And I really wanted to experience this new milestone in the hobby. This game, Faith, the sci-fi RPG, was actually the first and only game that or anything that I've ever kickstarted. This was really unique and really interesting to me. So when these type of games, they of course are happening, I think, a little bit more in the hobby these days, and especially when you have collector's editions. I know that there's a collector's edition of the Star Trek adventure game out there by Modiphius, and it came in a Borg cube, which looks so incredible. They're doing it a little bit more even outside of special collector's editions, and it's just really interesting to me. So how do you feel about the idea of alternate task resolution methods, or is that something that has ever interested you? How do you feel about box sets? It really excites me, and I'll have a link to show you an unboxing. And I love unboxing videos. It's kind of a sickness. It's kind of an illness. Unboxing videos. And let me know what you think about that. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about, is box sets and how much I love them. This is an ode to the boxed core rule set for role-playing games. So thank you for checking me out for this quick episode of Confessions. Good morning, good evening, afternoon, wherever you may be. Thanks.